Hello everyone, thank you for tuning into my channel. um, I am at 95 subscribers. I wanted to take a minute to say thank you to all of you that have been watching my content and have pressed that subscribe button. If you're here and you haven't done so, it'd be much appreciated if you did. So let's get to it. Got a couple new acquisitions today, a few, or more than a couple actually. This one here is really cool. Picked that up today, and these here, this is a 556 silver bullet. Oh, 223 it's labeled. It's a 223 silver bullet. And these usually, this is a 1 ounce unit. These usually have a little bit of a premium that goes with them. They always sell for significantly more than spot price. So silver's been on a decline as of late, but I don't foresee it going down much further. So I thought that was a good buy. I saw it and I was like, I gotta have it. That's actually my first one right there. I have a different one, and I think it's a 308 bullet. I'll have to look at it. Maybe I'll make a video with all of those in there. Anyway, also have here a 1922 peace dollar for 35. This one I might have overpaid by a little bit, but nonetheless I ended up buying it because this place that I go to typically doesn't lower their prices right away. So I don't suspect that they were going to lower the price on this. This is probably about the cheapest it's going to be for a while. So it's like, I'm just going to take it because I liked it, and I guess I was feeling like spending a little money. So there's that one. Now the rest of these are just quarters. Pre-64 quarters, and actually you can't really see them because the way they were labeled, but I like to leave them in the envelope. So there's 10 quarters in each of these envelopes. So that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 quarters here. Basically I got me a huge roll of 50. Anyway, I wanted to talk about something that should be on the news but isn't on the news. No one's really covering it, and it's actually quite alarming. And I've had people approach me about this. I've had people ask me about this, and I don't consider myself the expert, but I have been able to answer their questions, so I did, and I thought maybe I should make a video because it seems like this is a topic that very few people know about. And actually, the few people that know about it, there's even more people that know nothing at all. So that's why they're coming to me for answers, which that in itself could be alarming. But anyway, so I'm talking about the petrodollar. And the petrodollar we've enjoyed for about 50 years the world reserve currency status. And what that means is that the US dollar is the currency of choice when countries do business with each other. So I'll give you an example. For example, we'll just say Venezuela is going to have a transaction with, we'll just say Jamaica. So which currency would they be using to do the transaction? Because they're not going to use, Jamaica is not going to want the Venezuelan bolivars because they have no use for them. Those are really only good in Venezuela, and some people might argue that even in Venezuela they're no good. But that's another topic for another video. Anyway, so you could see how among countries that can get complicated. So the way that traditionally these types of transactions are resolved is by settling these debts in gold or silver. So back in the old days, like in the days of World War I, World War II, a lot of these debts were being settled in gold. So when countries in Europe were at war with each other, they needed supplies. They needed things like just war supplies, I guess. Uniforms, shoes, tanks, tires, boots, food, you name it. And because they were destroying each other, they weren't manufacturing. So they were getting a lot of these supplies from the United States. Well, the United States was taking in a lot of gold. They were paying for this stuff in gold. So the United States accumulated a lot of gold during this time. President Roosevelt also, I believe it was in 1932 or 33, through an executive order, made it illegal for citizens to own gold. So all that gold had to be turned in to the government, and the government, it was like a gold buyback program is what they did. Right after this program finished, right after they collected all this gold from the citizens, they revalued. So they were paying everybody $20 per ounce. And then right after the conclusion of this program, they revalued the dollar so that gold ended up being about $35 an ounce. Fast forward a few more years, and a bunch of countries met at Bretton Woods, where they had the Bretton Woods Agreement. And these are like the top economic countries in the world. They all basically agreed, I think. I don't know too many details, but the thing to remember about that meeting is that they all agreed that the US dollar was going to be backed by gold, and that all other currencies would be, I guess, you could buy dollars with other currencies, and the US dollar would be backed by gold. So very indirectly, currencies throughout the world were still backed by gold because the dollar was backed by gold. So the US was collecting a lot of gold. It was storing a lot of gold in its vaults all the way up until 1971. Well, it was in the 1960s. In 1964, so I should have brought some coins out. I didn't, but anyway, watch my other videos, and I do a pretty thorough explanation of this. But you have what's called like a quarter, a dime, a $50, and then a dollar, which is what this is. This is 90% silver. Okay, so when you bought something, you were trading precious metals for those goods, whether it was a car, a house, furniture, whatever. So you were doing transactions in precious metals. So when you had like a paper dollar, it even said right on it that certificate that that piece of paper was redeemable in silver or in gold if the numbers were big enough. So those dollars, that paper money, was actually a receipt for the real money, which was this silver and gold. I don't have any gold in front of us, but we all know what it looks like. In 1964, the U.S. government started to debase their currency. So what they did is they took all the silver, they started manufacturing dimes and quarters. This is 64 was the last year. 65 was the first year that you had the non-silver quarters and dimes. Now the half dollars had 40% silver, so they diluted those, and then all the way up until 71, those no longer had silver in them. So they went from 90% to 40% to 0% in 71. So what happened in 71 is what this video is about. So in August of 71, Richard Nixon ended what was known as the Bretton Woods Agreement, meaning you could no longer exchange dollars for gold. So any foreign country that was storing their gold in our vaults, essentially our vaults, not mine, but the U.S. government, in the United States' vaults, they had dollars. They had these things here, a bunch of them. And the only reason these were worth anything is because they were backed by gold. So Richard Nixon did a speech where he announced that you could no longer trade those in, they were no longer redeemable for gold. Now this was a temporary suspension. Temporary still to this day. We are in September 2021. 50 years later, that suspension, that temporary suspension, still has not been uplifted, or has still not been lifted. Okay, so the reason Richard Nixon did that is because the United States was involved in two very expensive projects at that time. They were racing against Russia to try and go to the moon. And I actually, for a long time, believed that they really did go to the moon. And I was always so amazed by it, just looking up at the moon thinking, wow, people have been there. And I was just, I don't know why, but in my mind, something happened. And it made me just feel so, just in awe when I was a kid. Like, damn, people really went there. And it was a big deal to me. So it was a topic that I was always like interested in. And then when I started to hear rumors that didn't happen the way they said it did, I was like, I got to see this for myself. So I started doing the research. I encourage you guys to do your own research and draw your own conclusions. I'll leave it at that. So the US was involved in the space race, a very, very expensive project. At the same time, they were fighting what seemed like an endless war in Vietnam. So places like France started getting very suspicious. They're like, where's all this money coming from? How are they able to sustain this? Because they were taking lots of casualties. Anyway, so they said to the U.S., hey, we want our gold back. And that's when, well, they kept dragging their feet. They kept giving them the runaround. And then Richard Nixon delivered that famous address to the world that, hey, sorry, we're keeping your gold. You're not getting it back. Richard Nixon, of course, went down in history for being one of the less honest presidents. In this platform, we're not really allowed to say a whole lot, but let's just say he doesn't look so bad anymore after what happened just a few weeks ago in Afghanistan. And we'll leave it at that. Anyway, so now the agreement during 71 was with the OPEC nations, the oil producing nations in the world. Places like Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, Venezuela, a lot of the countries that are producing, Kuwait, Iraq, all the oil producers. So they were only allowed to sell oil, petroleum products in US dollars. And in exchange, the US promised military training and protection. Now, at the time, the world trusted the United States military. They were like, okay, well, they were kind of forced into this agreement, but they were, in a way, they didn't want to break away from it because of the consequences, potential consequences that could come their way. And then two, they were like, well, we're being trained by presumably the best in the world, so I guess it's not that bad. Well, fast forward to August 2021, Joe Biden is the commander-in-chief. He orders the withdrawal of U.S. troops, does not tell any of his allies, does not tell any of the civilians working at the embassies, working as translators, working, as admin people, mechanics, people at the, U.S. citizens and U.S. allies that are working to help the U.S. Translators, you name it. So they were basically stuck there. The U.S. troops started to be withdrawn from Afghanistan, and as soon as the people with all the firepower left, here comes the Taliban taking over city after city after city in Afghanistan. And they were emboldened because as they went through unchallenged. So they were feeling pretty good about the whole thing. So then they take over Kabul. Then the news breaks in the U.S. that people are fleeing Afghanistan. They're like storming the airport, trying to get out of there, because, well, the Taliban is known for beheadings and torture, and they're very tyrannical, so to speak. It was a botched operation. So now, fast forward another couple more weeks, and here's the Taliban. They're parading around in U.S. equipment, confiscated United States equipment, $85 billion worth. I'm sorry, if you voted for Joe Biden, this is what you voted for. If you knew that, because you knew this is the type of president he was going to be. It was no secret. He's not very smart. His mental health is declining. I think it's impossible to deny it at this point. And you can't even say you didn't know, because if you didn't know, you shouldn't be voting. You should get educated, you should become informed, and then make an informed decision. Most people that voted for Biden did it because they just did not like Trump. They didn't like the angry or the mean tweets or whatever. There was something about him they didn't like. it is what it is. I'm not convinced that there was enough people. I think the 80 million voters, that number's been inflated, as do many Americans that are paying attention to the whole situation. Again, another topic for another video. So now countries don't think that the US military is as mighty as they once thought it was. They've lost trust and confidence in the United States military. Yeah, the Taliban, they killed like 14 of our guys. They killed like 200 others, Afghani citizens, civilians. They told the U.S., you're going to be out by, they gave them a deadline, August 31st. Then the Biden administration tried to get an extension. It was denied. So clearly the Taliban is in control of the situation. So now the U.S. is out just as they were told to do so by the Taliban. And now they are parading around in Black Hawk helicopters. They've got M4s, M16s. They got U.S. military equipment, ammunition, night vision, all kinds of goodies that we're not even allowed to have, like semi-automatic weapons. Well, we are, but they're trying to go after those. I have to pass it back. We have to jump through all kinds of hoops to get our stuff. And here they are, like arming known terrorists. Yeah, something's definitely not right. To me, this looks like an insurance job, but I digress. So the world is watching this, and they no longer trust that the U.S. military is as tough and mighty as they thought it was. So now the rest of the world is like, okay, so we can do what we want, because what's the U.S. going to do? What's Joe Biden going to do? Right? So now, here's the kicker. Here's the part that a lot of people don't know about. Nigeria, in less than 24 hours, in a 24-hour period, Nigeria and Saudi Arabia entered into negotiations with Russia. They are no longer going to be using what we've known as the petrodollar, or US dollars. That they're abandoning that whole system. They are not the last two. There's going to be more countries that are going to be doing this. They're going to be entering into negotiations with either China or Russia. Most likely one of those two. I believe China is going to emerge out of this whole situation as the world superpower. It's my prediction. Again, I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. But only time will tell. Anyway, so I'm going to give you guys some homework. Because if you do your own research, you don't have to take my word for it. And if there's anything I didn't explain very well, you will learn about it very thoroughly through your own research. I want you guys to research the petrodollar. I want you to research the Bretton Woods Agreement. I want you to research, just do a quick Google search, or maybe go to another search engine and look up 1971 Richard Nixon gold. Just look up those three words in the same search bar and see what you get. You're going to see that video. One of the things you'll see is that speech where he does that temporary suspension that is more like a permanent suspension. Somebody once told me, I forget who, but there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. And that is so true. So, again, folks, thank you for watching my video. At this point, things are not looking very good for the dollar. We've been fortunate thus far that we've been able to export all of our inflation. Other countries are not so lucky. Take a look at Argentina, Venezuela, Zimbabwe. There's a lot of examples out there that we can see, that we can study and learn from. But that is soon about to change for us. We're not going to be able to get away with it anymore. So my suggestion, my advice is, and what I'm personally doing, is I'm stocking up. I'm buying a little extra canned food, non-perishables, coffee, non-perishable items, tools, gold, silver, whatever you can, whatever you use, whatever you currently use, buy a little extra and save it away. Squirrel it away for a rainy day, because things are about to get very, very expensive. Yeah, inflation. We have not really seen inflation here in the U.S., but we're about to. I can say with absolute certainty, we're gonna see a whole new level of inflation, and this is what I don't know if all of you, I don't think so, but some of you voted for this. This is, whether you voted or not for this, this is what's coming our way. So now we need to be prepared. Get involved, get informed, get armed, buy a gun, buy guns, everyone. Buy guns, buy lots of ammo. Some really bad stuff is on the horizon. So just for safety. For safety purposes, for home protection, you don't want to be caught without the proper protection and firepower. When things get really ugly, you're not going to be able to acquire any of this. It's going to become unobtainable and unaffordable. So with that, just get prepared. Every day's an opportunity. I'll let you guys go. Thank you for watching my video. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. If you don't, make sure you hit that thumbs down button twice. Make sure you hit it twice, because I won't get your feedback if you don't do it twice. Other than that, you guys have an awesome day, and we'll see you on the next one.